Aditya, let me begin, in fact, by asking you about what's been happening in Israel and the Gaza area over the last 2 weeks. You, of course, been known for the 2016 surgical strikes that happened in Pakistan Occupied Kashmir, and the stories are legendary, really. But what's been happening in Gaza over the last 2 days? There's a ground invasion, but these are targeted strikes that are happening using tanks, drones, and the ground assault teams of the IDF. Can this be compared with the surgical strikes that we did in POK?
Well, Aditya, the answer is yes and no. It is a trans-border raid. It's an attack across the borders into Gaza, and that's what the surgical strike did. But I think, in my view, the comparison ends there, because what is happening is that in a surgical strike, just like a surgery, you don't damage anything else except the intended organ. So that's what we did. We struck the terror camps across the LOC in multiple locations. In Gaza also, the IDF is striking multiple targets, and like you brought out, some of these commanders who brought on the raid on the 7th October have been taken out. But the fact is that there is also heavy collateral damage. A lot of civilians, women, children included, have also taken the hit. So to that extent, it is not really a surgical strike. It's a very strong strike across the border.
Well, I'll come to the collateral damage and the civilians also in a bit, because we have some stories that we will run around it. I wanted to ask you on the expansion of this war. Ever since the terror attack in Israel, in southern Israel, we've seen the airstrikes taking place. In these airstrikes, now more than 7,000 people have been killed in Gaza. We've of course also seen the north border in Lebanon that is of course firing towards Israel as well. Is there a possibility of a two-front war here? And do you think that this war is increasingly expanding?
Aditya, I think it already has expanded. The two fronts that you mentioned have been live from day one. I mean, the Hezbollah from Lebanon actually started off the second day itself. The exchange of fire started off. So it has expanded. There is a threat of the West Bank joining in the effort. America has already sent troops, has sent the carrier battle groups, etc. US has already targeted, as per their own statement, the Iranian targets in Syria, in Iraq, for protection of the US troops over there. So they are already being drawn in. So that actually, to my mind, the day is not far. Are we really looking at Iran coming in real time, in whichever form it does? So I think this Middle East is such a cauldron that is bound to expand unless we move towards a settlement, a peaceful settlement, a negotiated settlement. If we don't move towards that, Middle East has wheels within wheels, and we've seen that over the past 6 decades or 7 decades, that this always escalates into something bigger.
On the ground invasion, from your military experience, it's a difficult territory there. Sumit, who has been there, spoke about the challenges that the IDF could be facing. Do you see these preemptive attacks continuing for a longer duration, or do you think that a full-blown military assault in Gaza will happen perhaps any day?
Well, for a few days certainly these raids will continue. Like Sumit said, they fall back to their firm bases. If they have to go in a full-blown attack, as Israel has been announcing to the world, let's also not forget another angle. I spoke only about terrain friction. That means to go into the streets and houses is not going to be easy militarily. You have to clear room by room. But let's also not forget the fact that the issue of hostages. You have more than 200 hostages which don't involve only Israeli citizens. There are other citizens, other nationalities involved.
Yes.
It is going to become a very big issue. So I think a bigger concern for Israel is, apart from the humanitarian aid should continue to flow in, apart from the collateral damage, is the fact that what are they going to do about those hostages who are endangered. Let's not forget, a couple of years ago, for one corporal, more than 1,000 prisoners were exchanged by Israel.
Right.
So I agree. The leadership in Israel has made some statements. Everybody should be prepared to pay a price. Statements are good. But when actually you start seeing bodies of women and children, it turns the world opinion. And I think even Israel will start losing the goodwill that it is today it has, because Israel has suffered at the hands of this terrorist organization called Hamas. But the moment body bags start flowing, hostages start getting killed or things like that, God forbid it happens, that will be a different ball game altogether. So I think there are many more angles to their full-blown invasion.